Welcome back. All right, so news of the day for all you fine people for your Monday, March the 18th. Yep, it's the second news of the day video. This is why I stopped putting NOTD at the start, because sometimes I do multiple videos and people just see NOTD and they go, I already saw that today. So, Mitch Marner, we'll start at the top. He is going to miss the next 2 games. They have a road trip of 2 games. He's not playing in that road trip, and it's starting to cause people to wonder, so is this worse than what the team said it was? Maybe. There's also been word that he's had a setback, so he was going through the process of trying to get back on the ice and everything, and he's had a setback. And we don't know what that setback means or how long he's going to be out, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be back soon. So for Toronto, without Mitch Marner, their record's been pretty good. They do have some good depth up front. I know people are going to snicker at that idea, but they do have some depth when it comes to their forwards. And so they can absorb the loss of Marner for a while, but they're going to miss him at some point. And so, yeah, hopefully Marner comes back soon, but it does sound like it could be a little bit longer than initially suspected he was going to be out. Dmitry Kulikov has been suspended. It's 2 games for the illegal head check on Sherry. So, yeah, for Kulikov, he was thrown out of that game. Now he gets 2 game suspension as well. Since it's the Florida Panthers, and they are used to having a depleted blue line, they are not a team that is unfamiliar with having to find guys to plug into defensive positions right from the start of the season when they were without Montour and Ekblad. I think Florida is going to be fine without Kulikov for a couple of games, but we'll see. The 3 stars of the week in the National Hockey League this week were as follows. Nikita Kucherov. Dimitri's this guy. Nikita's this guy. Nikita Kucherov only playing 2 games for Tampa Bay, but getting 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. Really solid week. Connor Bedard, 2nd star, 3 games, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points for him. Marc-Andre Fleury, 3rd star of the week, and makes you wonder, is this the last time we'll see Marc-Andre Fleury amongst the 3 stars of the week in the National Hockey League? We'll see. He went 2-0-1 with a .964 save percentage and a shutout over the last week. So Fleury doing his part to try to keep Minnesota in the hunt for a playoff spot. We'll see whether or not it works out. Ryan Lindgren, I have said for years, Ryan Lindgren is a cyborg. The guy can get hurt in game, and you're like, wow, he's going to miss a month. And then he's back the next shift. So the fact that he's going to be out a few weeks with a lower body injury definitely looked like his ankle in that game against the Islanders last night. Just one of those collisions that happens. Nothing malicious behind it. But yeah, he's going to be out for a few weeks, they're saying, with lower body injury. Well, the regular season's got 4 more weeks. Hopefully he can be back in the lineup and be back in the flow of things before the playoffs get started. The New York Rangers are definitely going to miss him. He's a very good defensive defenseman, and he's tough. He's a good role model for the other players on the team. You watch Lindgren, he plays hurt all the time. It's got to be hard if you're a player on that team to say, I don't know if I can go tonight. Lindgren's like, look, I've lost 2 ears and 4 arms and 6. The guy's a cyborg at this point. And so hopefully Lindgren's not out for that long. Hopefully few weeks turns into 3 weeks and not more than that. Because again, when they're that vague, it does make me wonder if it's going to be longer than that, if maybe it's going to be until the playoffs. So the general managers meetings continue today. There was discussions of whether or not there should be a coach's challenge for puck over the glass. That was discussed last year. The NHL came out and said, we don't have a problem with that. When do we see instances where it's not necessarily 100% sure? It's not a big deal. Since they said that, it feels like they jinxed something, or maybe there's some kind of hockey god somewhere that decided, that's it, I'm going to unleash just confusion everywhere, because there have been instances, even on the weekend. There was a very clear instance. I can't think of which game it was. I watched so many games on the weekend. But there was one where clearly it went off the player's stick on the way out. Still called puck over glass. So the GM's also clear they want to keep subjectivity in it. They don't want to make it so the officials aren't making any calls. Everything's via replay. But puck over glass is one that's kind of a sticking point. And so we may see that expand what is allowed to be reviewed and challenged. So you guys can let me know what you think on that rule. I think it would be fine. I think that we have to have a limit of challenges, but again, do we want that? Because they did say, too, the GMs want to make sure they're balancing this. They don't want games weighed down by replays, and that happens. Once you get into 6 or 7 minutes for an offside review, it's insane. If it's that close, I think letting it go will be okay. And I think that's something they should discuss. Like for instant replay on offsides, it should be really clear. If you can't decide in the first 30 seconds, goal's fine, and leave it as is. But at any rate, you guys can let me know your thoughts on that one as well. We have seen offside replays take 7 or 8 minutes, and sometimes goalie interference can take up to 10 minutes. It just feels like it should not take that long with instant replay to decide whether or not you're going to allow it and you're not going to allow it. So, at any rate, let me know your thoughts. Sergachev has skated for the first time since his injury. He is on LTIR, hoping to get back before the playoffs. I'm sure Tampa Bay wants him back before the playoffs as well. This is why they were in on Noah Hannafin, because they need another defenseman. I think they know they need another defenseman. Right now they look like a playoff team, but do they look like a contender? My argument would be it depends on the game. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And the teams that are really pushing towards and look like they're going to be true contenders are a little more consistent than Tampa Bay. So getting Sergachev back in the lineup could absolutely help with that. Markstrom could return to the lineup this weekend for the Calgary Flames. Dustin Wolf is starting tonight against Washington. It's his third straight start. I think that's great for Wolf, and I think it gives him a vision of the future. And the debate then becomes, do you trade Markstrom in the offseason or Vladar? If you believe Wolf is ready, which one of the two do you trade? I think Vladar is the easier one to trade, but he's a bit younger than Markstrom. Markstrom at this point with a $6 million a year contract, are you better if you're Calgary to move on from him, or do you move on from Vladar? We'll see what they do. But it does look like Wolf's ready to be a National Hockey League regular in the net. Teuvo Teravainen missed his second straight game last night for Carolina. Rod Brindamore doesn't think it's going to be long-term, and he could play tomorrow. But again, it's just kind of cagey, isn't it? Like we're at that point in the season where guys will be out of the lineup and we get, he might be back for the next game. And you wonder, do you actually know if he's going to be back for the next game? Is this just like one of those things they do and they tell us one thing and then it's actually something else? But yeah, Teuvo, it shouldn't be a long-term injury, but he's already missed 2 games. So if he misses the next one, that's 3 games. That's usually about a week. And then it's not just a day-to-day injury at that point. So if you like behind-the-scenes documentaries, and who doesn't? I mean, there's sports that my wife doesn't enjoy, but she enjoys some of the documentary stuff on it. I did start the quarterback series on Netflix, which was interesting. It was interesting to look at that series on Netflix. I didn't finish it. But there's a behind-the-scenes documentary that apparently is going to be made on NHL stars, players. Now, Chris Johnston reporting is going to be probably about a dozen, and so it's going to be the behind-the-scenes look at things, and it's likely that in the fall we'll see that series getting released. Sounds like it may be through Amazon, but I think a behind-the-scenes documentary is great. We've seen what it's done for F1 as an example. And the tricky part becomes the NHL's always been kind of cloak and dagger about the behind-the-scenes stuff. And so I don't know how much we're actually going to get to see, how much we're going to get to know about the behind-the-scenes. But it should be interesting either way. Hopefully they pick players from all parts of the continent and teams that are rebuilding as well as teams that are, at the top of the league, that kind of thing. But it should be an interesting watch. I'll watch it. Will you? And that's the question to ask. Will you? Because I do think that the documentaries on that kind of thing, they can be really fun to watch. It doesn't even matter on the sport either. They can be really fun to watch. I don't know where the drama is going to necessarily come from. I don't know if it'll be real drama or manufactured or implied via music, because some of the reality shows like to pipe in the ridiculous music, which I've talked about on my other channel, and definitely my wife and I've talked about to ourselves on the other channel as well. So yeah, we'll see how it all turns out and which players they decide to follow around. I mean, obviously you're going to have your obvious ones, which would be McKinnon, McDavid. You got to think Matthews. Like, would Barkov be a good one to follow around and see how much he's underrated? Right? And do you pick a couple of goalies as well? Goalies are usually really, really interesting folks. There's a reason that there's so many goaltenders that become color commentators. They're interesting guys. You have to have a kind of a different personality to decide, I want to stop that 100-mile-an-hour puck. I want to be the last line of defense. That was never in my brain, but it's in theirs. And so I'd be very interested to hear from them. And it might be interesting if they picked a player that Maybe there's been rumors of them getting moved. Maybe they're coming up on an expiration on their contract. So at any rate, we'll see what they do, see how it does, and we'll see how popular it is. Let me know your thoughts. And again, once that documentary comes out, I have no problem reviewing it if I need to, like I reviewed the Leafs one they released years back. So let me know. I'm actually kind of surprised it's taken this long for them to dip their toes in the water again. I'd expected after the Leafs one was popular that they would go for that again. So we'll see what we get. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Now I got some hockey to watch. I'll review that for you later. I'll talk to you again soon.